Fallout 1. Joining the Master's Unity. The Master had a vision for humanity, and in this ending, you decided to help him achieve it. When you encounter him in the cathedral, the conversation gives you 3 paths forward. Fight him directly, use logic and evidence to prove his plan will fail, or embrace the dark side by accepting his philosophy and actually join the Unity to fulfill their mission. This is what happens when you take that final path, and unfortunately, none of it ends well for you and the people you know. Firstly, you're going to get dipped in the FEV vats at Mariposa like a donut. This means you're going to be transformed into a super mutant that's far from the dweller that left their vault when the chip broke. But after that, you're going to commit terrible injustices that betray your morals and your, well, species. When you're fully converted, the Master, your new boss, sends you on a mission that only you can accomplish, the invasion of Vault 13. After all, you know the layout, the defenses, and every weak point in their security, and your knowledge will save many mutant lives during the attack, which makes you invaluable to the Unity's strategy. Now, if you're one to hold grudges, this might actually be the best ending for you, because the Overseer, the man who exiled you and sent you into the wasteland, dies by your hand. But everyone else inside the vault is either converted into a super mutant through the same process you went through, or they're simply sent to the Shadow Realm on the spot if they resist. This single act sets you on a path to become one of the finest soldiers in the Unity, and you get rewarded handsomely by the Master himself. Everything's eat, pray, love for you. However, there's still a small part of you that wonders if you actually made the right decision. Fallout New Vegas, Lanius as Caesar. If you thought the Legion winning the fight was bad enough, this version is somehow worse. During the quest at Tumor Brute, you have the opportunity to save Caesar's life by performing brain surgery to remove a tumor that's been growing in his head. Now, if you let him die, either by refusing the surgery, botching it intentionally, or just not doing the quest at all, Legate Lanius takes over as the new Caesar. And boy, does he have fun with it. Because if you think about it, Caesar is a psychopath, but a totally smart one who plans ahead and thinks long term. He had some semblance of philosophy and strategy, but Lanius is like that bitter HR lady who suddenly got handed the company and starts firing everyone out of spite. And so when the Legion wins Hoover Dam under his command, he treats the Strip as a military target, destroying anyone who resists him. And the word resist to him is honestly really broad. He also systematically takes over every major location throughout the Mojave, while either killing or pretty much taking ownership of the vast majority of the population. For example, he wipes out the entire followers of the Apocalypse after discovering that they had defamed the noble origins of the original Caesar in their history books. To be loved like that. Find a person who loves you like Lanius loves Caesar. It probably feels like getting hugged by a cactus. Lanius also punished the NCR pretty badly by publicly terminating Chief Hanlon and every single one of his soldiers. This is basically the worst case scenario for everyone. Fallout 3, Project Purity poisoned with FEV. Project Purity was supposed to save the capital wasteland by providing clean water to everyone who needed it, but in this ending, you turned it into a weapon that would have made a certain Austrian painter proud. At the end of Fallout 3, you have a conversation with President John Henry Eden, the Enclave's AI leader, who gives you a vial of modified FEV. He asks you to add it to Project Purity when you activate it. His pitch is that it will purify humanity by killing anyone with radiation-induced mutations, super mutants, ghouls, and anyone who's been exposed to the wasteland's fallout. If you agree and pour the FEV into the purifier, the water becomes contaminated. Everyone who drinks it and isn't genetically pure by the Enclave's standards, well, they die. And so the capital wasteland essentially becomes a massive graveyard. Ghouls who had survived 2 centuries since the bombs just suddenly dropped dead. Super mutants who were trying to integrate into settlements were basically wiped out. Even humans with minor radiation exposure weren't safe. Maybe this ending is a good reminder to everyone that they should say please and thank you to their chatbots the next time they're conversing with them. Fallout 2, Gecko Nuclear Meltdown. Gecko was a peaceful ghoul settlement built around a pre-war nuclear power plant, and in this ending, you blew it up. The city was founded by ghouls from Vault 12 after they left a necropolis, and the power plant was their main source of energy and their economic lifeline. When you arrive in Gecko, you learn that the reactor has been malfunctioning, leaking radioactivity into Vault City's groundwater, and causing tension between the 2 communities. You're given several options to resolve the situation. Fix the plant, optimize it, negotiate a partnership between Gecko and Vault City, or just destroy it entirely because YOLO. And if you choose the last option, the result is catastrophic. That's because the explosion triggers a full nuclear meltdown that kills every ghoul in Gecko, turning the surrounding area completely uninhabitable for years to come. Vault City, the settlement that was worried about contamination from the plant, is ironically relieved because their perceived threat from the peaceful ghouls of Gecko was at an end. Now, the ghouls weren't a real threat, they were just trying to survive. But you decided the easiest solution was annihilation, and an entire community paid for it with their lives. Fallout New Vegas Dead Money. Elijah unleashes the cloud. Father Elijah, the former Brotherhood of Steel elder who abandoned his chapter during the Battle of Helios 1, had been obsessed with the Sierra Madre for years. When he finally got there, he discovered something worse than any pre-war treasure, the cloud. This thing filled up the entire villa, eventually blotting out the sky and basically killing anyone who breathed it in. But Elijah saw potential in it as a weapon to deploy instead. This is actually a secret ending in Dead Money, and here you can side with the most evil guy in the Mojave. Doing so allows Elijah to escape the Sierra Madre with the technology needed to weaponize the cloud on a massive scale, and he releases it across the entire wasteland. The gas blankets the region, killing everyone: NCR soldiers, Legion forces, traders, settlers, everyone. Now only the two of you are left alive to witness the apocalypse you helped cause. Lonesome Road, nuking both the NCR and the Legion. At the climax of Lonesome Road, you face a choice that could reshape the entire Mojave wasteland through nuclear fire. When you reach Ulysses Temple at the end of the DLC, you're presented with the option to launch all the missiles stored in the Divide at both the NCR and Caesar's Legion simultaneously. Now if you choose this path, you've got about 30 seconds to escape the collapsing temple, but after that, you can actually watch the mushroom clouds form in the distance from two different directions. And once that happens, the consequences are severe and incredibly destructive. The Long 15, one of the NCR's main supply routes into the Mojave, is reduced to a devastated, irradiated wasteland filled with ghoulified NCR soldiers shambling through 20 plus rads per second. Drywells, a major Legion garrison, suffers the same fate with ghoulified legionaries wandering the radioactive ruins. Your reputation with both factions drops to the absolute lowest rank possible, and you unlock the Dead Man's Burden perk, which at least gives you one extra special point as compensation for essentially destroying both armies. Both the NCR and Legion lose their primary supply lines into the Mojave, severely crippling their campaigns for Hoover Dam. The areas become explorable death zones, where you can find unique faction armor from both sides, assuming you can survive the radiation long enough to loot the ghoulified corpses of the soldiers you just nuked. Far Harbor, destroying all factions. The island of Far Harbor presents you with a moral dilemma between three factions, but there's actually a fourth option. You can just eliminate all of them. This ending requires you to methodically work through Dima's hidden memories and then use everything you've learned to unleash maximum destruction across the entire island. First, you take the nuclear launch key to the nucleus, home of the Children of Adam, and insert it into the vessel to initiate a nuclear detonation. You've got exactly 30 seconds to sprint out of the submarine base before it explodes, killing every single member of the Children of Adam in a massive blast. Next, you head to the wind farm and access Terminal 03, where you enter the kill switch code that shuts down the fog condensers protecting Far Harbor. Without these condensers, the radioactive fog rolls in and completely engulfs the settlement, turning it into a fog-covered ruin overrun by hostile creatures, including a legendary fog crawler. Almost every resident of Far Harbor dies, with only a few making a desperate last stand against the creatures before they too are overwhelmed. Finally, you report Acadia's location to either the Brotherhood of Steel or the Institute, who send a squad to wipe out the synth refuge entirely. Kasumi Nakano, the girl whose disappearance started your whole journey to the island, dies in the assault on Acadia if you go this route. Old Longfellow, one of the island's companions, turns permanently hostile if you destroy Far Harbor. The end result is an island almost completely devoid of sentient life, with nothing but ruins, fog, and monsters remaining where three communities once stood. If you confront him about what you've done, expresses absolute horror at the bloodshed you've caused. Fallout 4: Institute dominates. In this ending, you side with the Institute and help them cement their complete control over the Commonwealth by destroying every faction that opposes them. The path to Institute dominance requires you to systematically eliminate both the Railroad and the Brotherhood of Steel, leaving the Institute as the sole technological superpower in the region. Once their enemies are gone and their improved nuclear reactor is fully operational, the Institute doesn't just hide underground anymore. They assert direct control over the surface world. Synths begin patrolling throughout the Commonwealth, a visible reminder that the Institute is now in charge. Diamond City, the Commonwealth's largest settlement, gets decorated with Institute flags, and if you have high affinity with Piper, she publishes a pro-Institute article in her newspaper. You become the director of the Institute, and your statement about the future is broadcast repeatedly on Diamond City Radio for everyone to hear. The problem is that the Institute has an extremely dark history that doesn't just disappear because you're in charge now. They're the ones who abducted Commonwealth residents and replaced them with synth duplicates, created the super mutants that terrorized the wasteland through FEV experiments, and wiped out entire settlements for their research projects. Mama Murphy's psychic vision of this future is particularly chilling. I see a land marked up like a great experiment. Each test a new beginning, each sacrifice an acceptable loss. The Institute views the Commonwealth and its people as nothing more than a giant laboratory, and with you as director, that experiment continues with no one left to stop it. And that's Fallout's worst endings explained. Which one's the worst for you? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Fallout lore dives.